blastmusic247.com. We're changing the industry one artist at a time.
Welcome to Moments with Myra. Today I'm honored to sit down with a powerful woman whose work and heart reminds us that we're never meant to do life alone. My guest, Arleatha Patterson, is passionate about showing the world the healing power of community. She believes that real transformation begins when we find connection, support, and a safe space to grow together. In this conversation, we'll dive into how leaning on others, building trust, and showing up authentically. Ooh, authentically is the word, can truly change our lives. Get ready for a heartfelt discussion that will inspire you to embrace the strength of community and beauty of walking this journey side by side. Arleatha, thank you so much, my dear, for being here with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being asked to come and spend time with you, but also to talk about something that I think is needed now more than ever, which is the healing that we all need. And it has to come from community.
Absolutely.
There's nowhere else for it to come from. So thank you.
No problem, honey. And if you think about it, you hit the nail on the head already when you said it has to come from community, because who else is going to do it?
That's
We
right.
see the leadership that we're under now. We know that's not going to work.
That's right.
We know that with all the money and stuff that's being cut from the budgets of the places that really need it the most, they're struggling just to keep the lights on in some cases. So that's not going to work.
That's right.
So I really, really believe that two sisters as ourselves, just sitting down,
That's
talking
right.
about it with love, and an open forum is where we can start. So I'm just really, really excited for us. And, like I was telling you before, I look forward to us talking about more stuff in the future. Because, guys, when I tell you that she is knowledgeable, I mean, I can tap into her for a lot of stuff. So if she will entertain me, I will probably have her on here talking about several things. So
Yes.
look at this face and remember this face, because she'll be back again. Now, Arleatha, for those who may not know you yet, like I do, can you share a little bit about your background and what led you to focus on the power of community?
Absolutely. Well, I was born and raised here right in Winston-Salem in the Boston Thurman area, right up on Greenway Avenue.
Mhm.
And so I grew up in a time when in the late 70s and 80s, when that area was still thriving, but it was starting to feel the effects of what had happened to that area once we began to thrive. And so, it was all about community. There were stores, but I also began to see the deterioration that happened throughout our communities as, I live really close to Boston projects, grew up, all of my friends and family, or some were from that area. And what I began to see is the effects that poverty had on that area, the systemic issues that later on caused other issues that, lead people to substance abuse, violence. And because I recognized that it was not just simply the people themselves,
Mhm.
I think that's what led me, at a young age. I can remember being in high school and just always understanding a deeper way about things, as far as understanding that, I was a teen mother. So I got pregnant when I was I had my son when I was 16, but I had to become an advocate for myself. at that age because they were trying to send me to the alternative school. And I said, I've never been in trouble in school. I said, and I always do my work. At the time I was on honor roll, and I said, I will not go to an alternative school. And so at that time, I realized the power of advocating for myself, which is a way to find healing. And because I had community that supported me when I became a teen mother, I had community that stepped in, and once after I had my child, they would come bring me things. There were teachers that helped me out in school that lived in my community. The community just rallied around me even after I made that mistake of being a teen mother. And I think that's why I was able to finish school, because of the love that was shown to me through so many avenues. And so because I was able to thrive, and finish school and go on to college, despite being amongst things that would cause one to go down a different path, I realized that I wanted to serve others. I went to school after graduation from Mount Tabor at Winston-Salem State. And I wanted to, in high school, I was good at a lot of different subjects, but I really had a passion for writing, telling my story. I was a great storyteller, and I had a passion for speaking and did very well in all subjects, but really English was my top subject. So when I went on to college, I realized I wanted to do something with communication. And so communications was my major. Had a radio show while I was there, did all sorts of things. But in the interim of going to school, I experienced a tragedy that would change my life. And I lost my children's father. And unfortunately, it was by one of my loved ones. So that was really hard for me because I dealt with losing two people at one time. And so I had to find, a way to continue to get my healing. And I think that, even today, I don't want to go too fast forward, but even today, which I'll tell a little about losing both of my nephews recently to gun violence in the last 2 years. And my oldest nephew's trial sentencing was today, and the young man was sentenced. And so I've been going through a journey there of what I was going to say when I would give my victim impact statement. And the one thing that I talked about is finding healing by working in community, by helping others, by giving back. Even through my pain, I can find joy through my pain by helping others. And I think that community healing is the way that we're going to get through all of the things that we are faced now with. And, after high school, communications at Winston-Salem State, stepping away from school for a minute, because after that, I was pregnant at the time and meant that I had to raise kids by myself. So began working. I didn't finish the communications degree. So I worked a lot in banking. And so banking is really my background in finance. Did very well, excelled everywhere that they sent me, was even recognized as one of the top regional tellers, went on to get all sorts of awards for great sales. But there was something missing in that work, and it was, I knew that I was good. Whatever God would want me, wherever I was, I noticed that whatever work I did, I always tried to do my best. And so I knew that whatever I was doing, it was something that I wanted to be meaningful. And yes, being a banker was meaningful. Helping people with their finances was meaningful. But I also saw the disparities, even when it came to banking, as looking at as a lender, as a banker, I would look at two people side by side. They would have the same credit score, have the same type of issues, not issues, but have the same type of excellent credit history profiles. But the only difference between these individuals was maybe the name. You could tell by the name, or you could tell that one was African American. And time again, I would always have to question what was, the difference. And, we need to, well, this rule says we have to do this, and always fighting for people to follow the rules. And so I felt like that, that was something I wanted to do. And so when I went back to school to finish my communications degree, I actually did my internship. A lot of people don't know it, at Neighbors for Better Neighborhoods. Before I ever worked there, I did an internship years ago. And just loved it so much. But at the time, Neighbors for Better Neighborhoods was not in the position to hire me. So that's how I ended up going back into banking again, and staying in banking for some years. But I went over to Neighbors for Better Neighborhoods one day to talk to them about something. And they was like, we have a great position for you. And the position was for me to help to start up a program that had never been done in Winston-Salem called time banking. And time banking is simply just bartering. It's where you utilize your gift, skill, or talent, and you offer that service to a group of people. And so it had not been done in Winston. I had done some research and even was able to find the founder and get the founder to come to Winston. We were able to get 400 individuals and businesses and organizations to sign up to exchange services. And it became a powerful movement where, people who were sick got meds delivered to them. Kids who were kicked off the school bus were able to get teachers to give them rides to school, and to kind of talk to them about why they were kicked off of the bus and become mentors. A sick teacher was able to get a parent to bring him soup while he was out. Just simple things. A business owner was able to get her entire new building painted at no cost. By those who love to paint. So it's you using your gift, skill, or talent. And I think this was another way that I saw that how healing community can be, because in times where people felt like they didn't have a thing, it showed that we all have something to give, and that is our gifts, God-given gift, skill, or talent, and it can be utilized to heal us. And so, I kind of went off on a path there.
You're fine. And one thing that I wanted to pinpoint about what you were saying, I want us to go back to where you grew up, because I grew up before my parents moved us to Walkertown.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up on the corner of Cherry and Bacon Street.
Mm-hmm.
And so Cherry and Bacon Street, BDP, Thurman, Harrison, Greenway, all of that. I have to just really, really give kudos to our community.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of people that came from our community that go on to do wonderful things that might not ever be recognized.
Right.
But the way that we cared for each other.
Right.
I remember being able to walk to Kimberly Park School.
Right.
I remember being able to walk to the store with no problem, because the so-and-so was sitting on the porch and look after me. I just think that so many times, especially now with all of the violence and different things happening in our neighborhoods like that, that is so easy for us to forget about the heydays and the days of Northside Shopping Center and mothers and daughters and all of that. We really, really were thriving. Even the people that lived in Boston, we were thriving. And I just wanted to include that, because now so many people focus on the negative parts of it, but it wasn't always that way. And I feel like this is the start of us working towards us getting back to that, where you don't feel like, well, Miss Arleatha, she's all in my business and this, that, and other, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And back in the day, if I came to your house, my mama would tell your mama, look, whatever she get in trouble for,
that's right.
You get in trouble for too.
That's
you don't have to worry about it. But now, honey, you thinking about, well, Lord, Do I want to say anything? Because the mama might want to fight, and then here's the grandma
Yes,
and the aunties and everything. So it's just a whole different generation and a whole different outlook. But I just had to bring up the good old days from our area because we were really, really thriving. It was really, really a beautiful time. And I wish that the younger generation now could experience and see what it was that we saw during that
that's
time.
right.
So now,
Agreed.
when you hear the phrase healing power of community, what does that mean to you personally?
So, personally, it looks like, you know, our neighbors checking on each other when, someone passes,
Mhm.
um, or when someone is sick. Um, it looks like restorative justice, where if a child breaks someone's window or harms someone, that he can be restored back by community instead of the police being called. That they can find something that that child can do to restore himself back, whether that's, a chore, working for someone that he might have harmed, or them sitting down doing mediation, some sort of restorative act that allows him to see that beyond his mistake, he can be restored. And, that's what it looks like to me. Um, it also looks like us learning to forgive each other
Mhm.
when we have been harmed, because a lot of our healing comes from us forgiving others. And so, um, I can think of right now in the community that I'm one of the communities that I'm currently working in, Salem Gardens, which is one, would most would have considered one of the most violent communities in the city, which I disagree with. But when I first began to work over there, probably about 4 years ago, um, the organization that I work for did not want us to even go into the community and knock on doors and do any work, because they was afraid for our lives. I think maybe that first week, when I went over there in canvassing, I had just missed um, someone shooting. And so what I knew is that what we learned when we were younger is that it takes community, to stand up and say, we're not going to stand for violence in our community. And so, this happens by, you know, the households really understanding, because 9 times out of 10, it's not an individual that lives in the community.
Yeah.
What I have learned is that most of the individuals that are causing havoc in the community come from somewhere else, or come to that community to do a thing and then they leave. So never 9 times out of 10, it's not a person that's actually living there. And so what those residents have to do is make sure, that they work together to, um, uplift the youth. We have youth that, have all sorts of experiences in life that some would consider issues. But I think as community works together, start we started doing simple things like pop-up cookouts, where we just started having cookouts over there, and they began to know each other, and study circles where we talked about housing and education, and people began to talk about their experiences, and they realized they had more in common than they didn't. And 2, 3 years later, um, crime has decreased by 40%.
Mm.
This, has happened because residents now are having these pop-up events on their own. They started an after-school program. They have a more focus on economic well-being. They have found a sense of hope because someone is finally listening to the things that they have been experiencing as a community around inhumane housing, around how they are treated, by systems like the police department, or um, the medical, the hospitals or things like that. And we're not saying that all of these individuals are bad, but it's systemic things within these programs. And so, I think that community healing looks like listening to people's issues, hearing them, and walking alongside them, not trying to do anything for them because they don't need that. They need someone to walk with them and advocate for them and support them as they themselves find a solution, and we help them create that, so implement that solution. So it's not about us doing, they don't need us to do anything for them. They just need the support to be able to do them themselves. And so once they realize that someone sees them beyond a mistake or where they live or their address or their mental condition or the last mistake that they made, and they realize that people see them as someone who has a gift, skill, or talent that they can monetize, even if they have a criminal record. I think that's what has lifted this community. I really do.
And I like what you said, because I know me being a case manager, have worked for social services, been a case manager at the hospital, been a case manager at the housing authority, still working with the same demographic. The one thing that I find is a lot of times when they come in, they already kind of have that chip on their shoulder because of the interactions from other people.
Mhm.
And when they say, "Oh, well, Miss Myra's not like that," I treat everybody the same until you give me a reason not to.
Mhm.
And I'm a firm believer in being transparent.
Right,
I'm
right.
a firm believer of telling you this is what it is. I'm not sugarcoating it. And any of my old clients, they will tell you, Miss Myra is chill. She is cool. She don't bother me about nothing. But when I ask you to do something, just please show up and do it for me. And but it was just building relationships. It was being an encourager. It was saying, yes, you can finish school. I have one client, and I'm not going to say her name for privacy reasons, but I remember she came to see me one day and we were just talking about her living situation and her future plans about wanting to buy a house and that kind of thing. And she said, yeah, she said, I'm currently enrolled in school and I'm going to do natural hair, Miss Myra. That's what I'm going to do. So you're going to have to come and get your hair done. I'm going to do natural hair. And now she has her business. She's killing it and
Yes.
really, really thriving, So
Mhm.
it really, really, really warms my heart when you say that we just have to have that open dialogue and show that community, because that's all it takes, because they've had 10 people against them at any given time.
Mhm.
If we could just be that one person that show them, look at this way, give them a different perspective.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you believe sometimes so many people struggle to seek, accept, or receive support from others?
Um, you know, I'm going to start with myself personally with feeling like that I have to do so much myself.
Mhm.
Being taught to be this independent person, and I just felt like I always had to show my strength.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where mine comes from. With some other people, it's the reaction or the outcomes that they have had in the past. Um, for instance, with Salem Gardens, for the last 10 years, 12, 15 years, they have had one bad property owner after the other, where the property has been left to just decline, which is called mold, water damage, just all sorts of things that make it inhumane, code violations. And that in itself, residents reached out, asked for help from various groups, and to this day, even after a renovation, some of those same residents are still have the same issues.
Mhm.
So to someone who has asked for help, but in various ways, and has not received help simply because of their status in life, what their address is, and that's why place matters is a true thing. Place does matter. Because when they call the ambulance, it's not going to come as fast as it would if it was on Buena Vista. When they send their child to school, and the first conduct, and they look and see that that child lives in Salem Gardens. Not saying all the time, but people have implicit biases, and sometimes it came up in the education studies circle that they felt like their kids were being criminalized at a very young age. You know, and labels, you know, when you put a label on someone, you can't really see beyond that label. If I was to take a piece of paper right now and write the worst thing I ever did in my life on my forehead and stuck it right here, that's all you will be looking at for the rest of this time, because it's right there. And those labels that society put on us, it came up again over and over in the education study circle. They continuously tried to fight up against, and sometimes, you know, systems and people are too much in those labels, they stick.
And unfortunately, you're so right, because I dealt with some of the similar things when I was at Housing Authority, when we were dealing with Ladera Crest and the management and stuff there. So, and some of the stuff, you know, trying to be an advocate for my clients, it was just like unbelievable. Like, they're like, well, Miss Myra, they won't listen to me, you know, this, that, and the other. And I always tell them, make sure you keep all your paperwork. You know, I'm a firm believer in, you know, we're going to stay ready so we don't have to get ready, because we was really dealing with some shiesty situations. And it was labels for a good majority of those folks down there. The reason why things wasn't handled as quickly as I felt like they should have. And it's sad, because in my position as a case manager for housing, it's like our backs are up against the wall, because we're trying to fight for our clients.
Right.
And got all the bureaucracy and stuff, you know, behind you.
Right.
You can't get involved but this much. You can't get involved but that much. For a person that genuinely cares, it's hard.
It's hard.
And that's the reason why I had to kind of like pull back, because it's really, really hard. So I appreciate, you know, what you're saying, and I appreciate what you guys are doing over in Salem. With Salem Gardens. And, you know, after we're done, I want to get some more information about ways that I can volunteer and stuff.
Absolutely.
I really think that it's necessary. Now, in your opinion, how do you feel community support affects our mental, emotional, and even physical well-being?
Community support? Oh man, community support, it strengthens us and really improves our well-being. I really think about Salem Gardens so many times when they didn't have anybody but each other, right? When they were crying out, pouring out for assistance, and they were helping each other. They were, you know, if one person house flooded because of the mildew or the ceiling fell in, then you could stay with the other person. If one person's refrigerator didn't work, they were taking the other person food. When one person was illegally wrongfully evicted as a retaliation for speaking out, they went and they had put all his stuff out in front of the units. Everybody helped him, came together and found a way to pay for him a room for a couple of days. When one of the residents was passing away from cancer and he had no family, residents in that community sat with him for 2 weeks, you know, bringing him soup. They even said they couldn't go in and visit, but they had a celebration from him 2 days before he passed, where people would come to the window. They played music because they began to learn how, you know, and listen, let's just know that community was already doing this, but they began to do it on a more intentional way. See, what people don't realize about communities like Salem Gardens is that because they're low resource, they don't have a lot of people coming in to help them. They have to help each other.
Mhm.
And so they are used to having to help one that, you know, if there's a child in the community and his mother, for whatever reason, is not caring for that child, the community cares for that child. They make sure that child eat. They make sure if that child runs out, and his mom is asleep or whatever she's doing, they make sure that child is cared for back into the unit. When there's an older person that's senile and has walked out of his unit or can't walk to the store, you got residents that walk to the store for people because they know they can't go. When we did the food distribution program over there and was delivering hundreds of pounds of food, the youth and the other in the community knew the residents that could not get out of their units, and they made sure that they took their food to them. So the power of the community, the support from the community, there's nothing like it. And that's why I said this healing has to come from community, because no one else has a stake. People are concerned about their communities, as they should be, you know? So we got to be concerned about ours. And that's one thing that, and I know a lot, and a lot of people are. So, you know, we're going into another community where we had to do a cleanup because the community had just been riddled with, you know, paper, and just people were throwing down things. And so the day that we had went out there, he couldn't get residents, he didn't have time to get a lot of residents to help him initially. So we began to help him, and people were looking at us strange because they could tell that we were, you know, from a nonprofit, and we're out there cleaning up their mess. And so they began helping. But I think it was just so powerful for them to see. And that's why, you know, they began coming around, rallying, asking for trash bags, picking up. And every time we ride past there now, you know, we see that it looks different. And, you know, sometimes it takes somebody else showing love to you for you to show love for yourself and for your things. And one lady said, ma'am, she said, I just want to let you know that I get so tired of coming out here and picking up stuff. So people do try, right? But it gets overwhelming because as soon as you pick it up, you know, people that don't live in the community, same thing. People coming from somewhere else to come hang out. Those are the people that trash the community, and then they leave, right? And so, you know, someone has to stand up and say, you know, you can't come over here and trash our community like this. And so those things are now happening. People are, you know, are telling people you got to respect our community, you know. And so it's making a difference, because now people are starting to remember what it's like to live in a neighborhood that doesn't have paper everywhere.
Yeah. They're able to have some pride again in where
Yes.
they live.
And you know, a lot of them have pride in their area, right?
Yeah.
Like you got some beautiful, like this one lady, she's the plant lady. She got the plants in her area. Like when you walk through certain people, not a thing of trash, because they're gonna make sure their area is clean. But then you have ones that they just have got tired of picking up, or you, like I said. But again, the community was the one that cleaned it up. The community cleaned that community up. And again, that's where the healing and support has to come from initially, because that's what sustains the community. If people constantly have to come in from outside, and it's okay that people come in and support, because that has to happen too, right? They have to have people like me and you, right, that come in. But what I want to see when I work with a community is that when I leave, that they are doing things for themselves.
Yes.
That they realize that we can't count on anyone to do much for us. People will do a little, but we can do a lot for ourselves. And once we get past having to feel like we need people all the time, we have to first see what we can do for ourselves. That's an asset-based community development model. What the motto is, what can I do for myself? What can I do with a little bit of help? And what do I absolutely need somebody else to help me with? But the very first thing I have to ask myself is, what can I do? Right?
Yes.
What can I do? Because now, a lot of them were asking at one of the last meetings, what's going to happen if they take away our subsidies? And I said, and that's why we're talking about the power of moving you forward, economic mobility, using your gift of skill or talent, even if you can't go into a job today because of your record. Your gift, skill, and talent can still move you forward. And so those things, I think, are healing to people who have lost hope, right? To find some hope and dreams in what's been instilled in them that nobody can take away. No one.
That self-sufficiency is a powerful thing. I
Yes.
know that there's been clients of mine that come in and they already have it made up in their mind why they can't do this, and this. But then when I sit down and say, well, you say you like to draw, so what
Mhm.
about this job? Or what about that
Mhm.
job? And to
Mhm.
see them leave out with a different perspective and knowing, okay, I can do
Mhm.
this. It means the world. It
Mhm.
means the absolute world. And like you said, it's about community, encouragement, and just a kind word,
Yes,
And sometimes too, just putting ourselves in that situation.
that's right.
A lot of us may not have had to go through a lot of the struggles that they have had to face, but
Yes.
sometimes we have to get off our high horse,
Yes.
put on our tennis shoes,
Yes.
and get dirty,
Yes.
in order
Yes.
to make things happen.
Yes.
So, what advice would you give to someone who feels isolated or disconnected, but don't know where to start or how to take the first step to reach out?
In their community?
Yes,
Um,
because
well,
they might be afraid of retaliation. I've had a lot of clients say that to me, because by the time they get to me, things are just like you said, the ceiling is falling in, and all of these catastrophic things. And
mm-hmm,
I'm like, why didn't you speak up? Why didn't you say anything?
mm-hmm,
They were afraid of retaliation from their landlord,
yes.
something that I never in 1,000 years would think about. But
Well, I can tell you that it is a very current thing that is happening right now. The residents that have spoken up, have been retaliated against, and most of them we were able to keep from being evicted. I think there was one gentleman who just got tired of going back and forth to court, because what they'll do is they will, even after they lose, they'll go back in because they have lawyers, they'll go back and try it again. So, but what I can say is we have seen a total turnaround in that community, as far as because residents now are speaking up. Like before, it was a lot more, they had a renovation,
mhm,
which no telling if that would have happened or not. They also now are able to use the community center for the after school program. Now the city bus comes down into the community because they talked about safety. The captain of the police department, the captain of their area, they can call his call his line if they have an issue with a cop. He has said, you can call me. The city of Winston-Salem continues to work with property management to bring things back into bring things back up into code. Although they are still fighting up against the bureaucracy piece, the time clock being started over and over again. But now what's most important is that because of the things that we have been able to share, I have been able to share the experiences of residents from doing these study circles for 6 weeks at a time, where I was chronicling and documenting all the things that they were happening to them while going through renovations. They did assessments of their units from top to bottom. So all of this stuff has been documented, and there's data. And so this data has been shared not only with property management and the owners so they can get it together, but the city, to groups that are working in humane housing. It is being utilized to create programs in that community that would have never been there. We have partnerships with Duke Energy, Wake Forest University. 50 beds were brought into the community when they spoke up and said that they didn't have beds. Computer skills classes, because they wanted 60 people, 65 people went through computer skills classes and received laptops. We're now getting ready to get computers for the community center, and working to provide training and GEDs on site, because residents talked about issues with transportation. So because they spoke up, now they are beginning to get some of the things, a lot of the things that they have been missing, but they're also beginning to create things on their own with the help of others. And I think that that's most powerful. Now, in there have been some sad cases. I would not lie to you and say, but even those individuals learned that they had to still speak up, and they still got a feeling of victory out of not just laying down and allowing someone to continue to mistreat them. And listen, what I have learned is if I speak up and nothing happens for me, the next time somebody speaks up about that individual, or the next time after that, somebody's got to listen. And it is a compounding thing with this. And so I'm so grateful. And now all over the city, people are telling residents in Salem Gardens how proud they are for speaking up, even in the face of eviction, even in the face of retaliation, even in the face of, a lot of them were, when they came into Salem Gardens, were coming out of homelessness. A lot of them, the majority of them, 90% make less than $20,000 a year. A lot of them are on disability and or just have issues with employability. So it's not easy for a person who don't know what they're going to do if they lose their place to stand up. That's not an easy thing. And so I am so grateful that they trusted in me enough to know that I was going to stand by their side and be able to speak their truths. Because in a lot of rooms, people did not want to hear me.
Yeah.
But I found healing in being able to speak their truth, even in situations a lot of times where I did not take up for myself, because in these situations I was able to take up for them, and not necessarily even take up for them, but just being able to tell their story. I think I found so much healing in being able to do that.
Yeah, because a lot of the things that we've talked about even tonight, and even with me being in the same field, a parallel field that you're in, I haven't heard a whole lot of those stories, because you would be amazed about how many things get swept under the rug. But
Yes.
we know some things because we're privy to be able to be in certain meetings and
Yes.
things like that. So I'm so thankful for us to be able to use this platform to tell the story, and for it to have a happy ending, and for us to go ahead and hopefully get others motivated to see what they can do in their community if they're here in Winston or wherever you are when you're listening to it. It only takes one person.
That's
and
right.
one person can make a huge difference.
That's
Just
right.
one person.
That's right.
If listeners walk away with anything, just one message from this conversation, what do you hope that message would be?
I think that the message that I want to share with people is, anything that you do in life, comes back full circle. And so whatever you do in your community, will come back to you in so many ways that you can't even imagine. Meaning, you think you're doing it for the community, but you're also doing it for your family. And a lot of times what you do in that community begins to transcend out to other communities and then to other cities and states, and it's just a rippling effect, right?
Mhm.
Versus doing nothing, right? Um, and so I think that if it's as simple as calling someone because you notice that they haven't been outside, they normally come out and water their grass, but you haven't seen them in 2 weeks. Or even if you don't have enough time to do that, maybe whispering a prayer or Reiki, if that's what you do. But I think just showing concern for our neighbors again, and not the individualistic way that we have been taught. Just go in your house and close your door. Don't worry about, draw down your blinds. Don't worry about what's going on. Yes, we should be concerned about what's going on. I constantly am looking out, seeing what's going on. I'm one of those people. I'm going to talk to you, talk to the kids running. I'm going to say things because I believe that it is our duty to take care of not only just our family, but our communities. If we don't take care of them, then nobody will. So my word to someone today is to take care of your community where you live, where you call home. And if everybody can do that, if we do that, then that's where the healing can begin for all of us.
Yes, yes. And again, I go back to what we were talking about in the beginning. We're products of our community.
Right.
Definitely. That's
Right.
what was going on when we were growing up, you know?
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So, my dear, how can people connect with you or learn more about your work or get involved volunteering? How can they reach out to you and get information and all about the things that you have going on?
Sure. Well, so let me just share a little bit about the other things that I'm a part of. Partnership for Prosperity. I am the community engagement manager for Partnership for Prosperity. And that's the work that we do in communities where we go in and work with a community for 2 years for them to implement a community action plan. And they create all these wonderful projects. But outside of that, I happen to also be a part of a wonderful organization called WS Rise, which is putting Black lives first for a change. And we focus on Black communities, working with the social determinants of health the same way, housing, education, but we also bring in criminal justice. And so for Partnership for Prosperity, we have a Facebook page. We're in the process of redoing our website, but right now I run the Facebook page, Partnership for Prosperity. So if you're friends with me, Arleatha Patterson, you can find our Facebook page, Partnership for Prosperity, and you can learn all about the work that we have been doing as the Mayor's Task Force. We have been tasked to do this work through the Poverty Thought Force, and it's a way to, in their eyes, alleviate poverty by helping communities become sustainable. But one of the greatest things I think is I'm also a part of our Opportunity to Love and Heal Coalition, which works to end gun violence. And we work with survivors of gun violence. And because I am a survivor of gun violence, I am a survivor that speaks about it, but I also am a violence interventionist, where I actually have been trained to intervene in my way, which is a holistic way, not going and standing and saying stop, but being able to do the community engagement work from a lens of being a first responder in communities. And so our Opportunity to Love and Heal is a constant way for us to bring healing to communities, bring healing to families after going through gun violence. We host events. We provide trainings, mental health trainings, a Reiki healing training. So everything we do is about healing. We even hosted community care nights recently that have all been about healing. I also am a part of several organizations where I sit on several grants committees, and I think that's powerful. And a way to heal is being able to give a small seed of money for people to begin doing the work in their community. And so you can reach me on Facebook, Arleatha Patterson, or you can go to Partnership for Prosperity's page, with WS Rise. You can find out more about us at wsrise.org. Just that simple.
And
We have.
Oh, no, and I was going to say, and also, too, if you guys needed more information and if you're not able to connect with her on Facebook, you can always feel free to reach out to me and I can get you guys connected as well.
Thank you. And then our Opportunity to Love and Heal, we have a Facebook page as well as we have a website. And so you can reach us through our Facebook page there. And then also my email address is Arleatha, ARLEATHA at actionforequityws.org. And so you can reach me there if you would like to volunteer. We need volunteers to make phone calls. So even if you can't volunteer in person to help us at events or help us out with surveying, or there's other ways that you can volunteer if it's just making a phone call, or even if you don't have time to volunteer with making a phone call, any small donation of unrestricted funds is ways that we can help certain individuals when they have emergency needs, because we don't have any funding that's unrestricted at this time. So a lot of times when there are issues happening, we have to reach out to other organizations. And right now, because funding is low, a lot of these organizations don't have the capacity to meet these needs that people have. So, we are looking at a way to create a small emergency fund for things like that can keep people housed, because our biggest thing is to keep our most vulnerable housed. And in Salem Gardens, which is an area that has a lot of concentrated poverty right there in that community, the majority of the residents there are below the age of 17, right? So we want to make sure that those individuals are housed.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for all of the information. Thank you so much for being here. Your wisdom and passion, wow, is a reminder that healing doesn't have to happen in isolation.
Yes.
It happens when we lean on each other, share our stories, and walk together in love and support. I hope today's episode encourages you to reflect on the power of community in your own life and remind you that connection is truly a pathway to transformation. Thank you for tuning into Moments with Myra. If this episode blessed you, be sure to share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, you don't have to do life alone. There's healing in community. Until next time, keep growing, keep connecting, and keep shining. Thank you, Arleatha.
Thank you.
So I think that I'm gonna book the ticket. Like, you think you may be able to come?
You see this book? It's fine. Oh, look at that chocolate.
Girl, grab my skate.
But we don't even skate though.
Now it's more than a vibe. 'Cause now we talking my life. Can't believe we official, baby. Yo, you made your way on my device. Yikes. Man, I thought I was through. 'Cause love ain't never been true. I don't know what to do. I'm so strung out on you. Yo, you and me made love. Look so good. Hey, you and me got love, and it's looking so good. I was doing alright. I wasn't even checking for nobody. Yeah, and then you came into my life, and then here you go. You were so different, baby. I decided that I'd give it a try. I try. Tell me how this could be. Someone perfect for me. looking so good. Baby, I can't believe I found you. I done gave up on love for the last time, but you came along and opened my heart, and I can't leave you even if I tried. What have you done to me? Baby, I just love you. So in love with you. So in love with you. Oh baby, when I think of you. In love with you. Looks so good. Yeah, yo, you and me make love look good, baby. And me, and it's looking so good.